Yes, I am recording with my cell phone. The reason I am recording with my cell phone is because my camera over there, right there, has kicked the bucket. It no longer works, and I was like, oh man, but then I realized, oh wait, I have a cell phone from the same year as that camera, ironically. This is gonna be like like a couple of month setup for YouTube videos until I can get an actual camera. So I wanted to make this video about a book that I had to read for a young adult project for school that well, now that school has been out for like 3 weeks for me now. This book was a really entertaining book to read, and I just thought it would make for a great sort of critique. Now, other people have critiqued this book, and so you can probably go on YouTube and see a bunch of videos before you search this video in the search bar and actually get it, because this book is old. So the book that I'm talking about is In the Shadow of Blackbirds by Cat Winters in 2013. So I would have been 12 when this book came out because my birthday's in November. The premise of this book is, well, first off, let me get into the background of this book. So I am a student in the education program, the College of Education at Tennessee Tech University in Cookeville, Tennessee. Go Golden Eagles, go Tennessee Tech. For my teaching, reading, and the content area class, which is teaching vocabulary and word comprehension and reading comprehension to secondary education students, so students who are 6th to 12th grade, for a final project, because our professor had expertise. He had a concentration in English. He got the idea for the final project to be a project on young adult novels. So what we had to do is we had to pick a young adult novel, and we had to do an activity from a list of like 30 something choices and perform it as our final. And for mine, I did a monologue as one of the characters from this book. And because my concentration is history, this book, even though it's a novel, it's fiction, it's historical fiction slash, well, it's not realistic fiction, but it is historical fiction. It's not something that happened in the past, but it could have happened. That's what historical fiction is. This book takes place in 1918 United States, specifically West Coast United States, Oregon, California, around that area, during the Spanish flu epidemic and the start of U.S. involvement in World War One. World War One started in 1914, ended in 1920. U.S. got involved in 1918. Speaking of my monologue as one of the characters of the book, you can actually see the monologue that I did on this channel. I'll have a card up here or up here, I don't know. So anyway, I did a monologue of a character named Stephen Eugene Embers, who is the main male protagonist of this book. He's not the focus of the book. The focus is on the female protagonist, the main character of the book, Mary Shelley Black. But getting to the plot of In the Shadow of Blackbirds. So In the Shadow of Blackbirds opens with the main character, Mary Shelley Black, in 1918 United States America, catching a trolley during the Spanish flu epidemic. So she has gauze mask and goggles and scrubs, and she's very protective of herself in this pandemic environment. And already right off the bat, first chapter, I drew parallels from what was happening in 1918 America to the modern day, because we literally, as of this year, 2023, just got out of the COVID-19 pandemic. As of March, April of earlier this year. So there was a lot of parallels to social distancing, wear your mask, wash your hands, practice basic hygiene, which people didn't do, brush your teeth, comb your hair, that sort of thing. So Mary Shelley Black is sort of she's getting called a doctor despite the fact that she's 16 years old, but no one can tell because she's wearing a mask, and she has to say, no, I'm in high school, I'm not a doctor. My father was a physician before he went to prison, because he was a conscientious objector to World War I. He didn't sign up for the draft, and so they labeled him a terrorist. And he served I think 10 years in prison. And so anyway, Mary Shelley Black gets off the trolley and reunites with her Aunt Eva, because her mother died in childbirth and her father's in prison, so Aunt Eva is her only guardian. And she says that they are moving from Portland, Oregon to a place called Coronado Island in San Diego, California. In moving down to Coronado Island in San Diego, California, Mary Shelley Black runs into her old high school sweetheart, my favorite character in the book, Stephen Eugene Embers, whose brother is Julius Embers, and I forget who their mother is, but they have a mother there, and also Julius's wife, who I forget. Julius has interacted, he's sort of like the main antagonist of the story. He interacted with Mary Shelley Black previously in the realm of spirit photography. There's also a lot of talk of spiritualism, the occult, psychism, spiritual photography, a lot of that stuff, which is interesting because I was also taking a U.S. social history class this semester, or last semester, fall semester, so at which I got an A in, by the way. Freaking cool. Mary Shelley Black doesn't want to have anything to do with Julius, but she is all over Stephen, because Stephen and Mary are childhood sweethearts. They met when they were in junior high, and they haven't seen each other in 5 years. Right as they reunite, Stephen is like, so I'm off to war. I'm going to war. I enlisted because I hate the Germans, which everyone hates Germans. They they have no sense of humor. Stephen Eugene Embers goes off to war. Mary Shelley and Aunt Eva get set into this apartment that Stephen and his family have set up for them. Fast forward a few weeks later, the stories differ. Some say he stepped on a mine, some say he was shot, some people say Blackbirds came and pecked out his eyeballs, hence the name of the title, In the Shadow of Blackbirds. Irregardless, all of these stories don't have nothing in common with each other, leaving Mary Shelley Black to go, something seems fishy here. So, despite being, a scientist and a photographer and into literature, instead of popping out babies like clockwork, like any good traditional woman would do during this time period, despite the fact that she is a flipping child, she relents and gives in to the brother Julius Embers and goes, frick it, I'm going to get into spiritualism because I need to find out what happened to Stephen. So at first, the first thing that she does when she finds out Stephen is dead is, oh my God, woe is me. Grief, heartbreak, my boyfriend has died. Oh no. Anyways, so she goes to his funeral, and as any sane woman would, she puts her hand on the casket and starts hearing voices in her head. Now, any sane person would go, schizophrenia, but not her. She starts communicating with what she presumes to be the spirit of Stephen Embers. And they start dragging her away. And she's like, no, he's talking to me. I'm crazy. Haha. She gets home and she's so grief-stricken and she's so mad with anguish that she sticks a toaster off of a balcony during a thunderstorm, and so naturally it catches on lightning, which acts as a conduit for her to get zapped by the lightning, to which the toaster drops off the balcony. She goes butt over tea kettle off of the balcony onto the backyard below, and she dies. She's dead like a fifth into the book. She dies, like she's gone by. So her soul leaves her body, and she starts being able to see the world from above. So she's like, whoa, this is trippy. Holy crap, that's my corpse. And so she gets her wits back about her and goes, I need to figure out what happened to Stephen and stop being a crybaby, even though she's a flipping child, and that's what children do. She gets back in her body. Get back in your body. Get back in the pod. She gets taken to the hospital. She comes to, and she leaves the hospital and starts her investigation into who, what, when, where, why, and how. And during the plot of the book, it goes from a historical fiction about life in 1918's America during the Spanish flu epidemic to a mystery novel with spiritualism and the occult and paganism. Because she got struck by lightning, she now has these supernatural powers. She basically becomes what is known as a medium, meaning she is able to communicate with spirits from the afterlife, most predominantly Stephen. So every week or so, the spirit of Stephen is coming to her in her room and basically having what they call shell shock, which we now know as post-traumatic stress disorder. What people don't often know, and what I actually found out by reading this book and doing further research, there's actually a term that predates shell shock called soldier's heart, which has its origins in the Napoleonic Wars of the early 1800s, specifically I think 1815. That's circa 1815, during the time of Napoleon. Meaning, we've known about post-traumatic stress disorder since the freaking Civil War previous. Stephen is giving these vague clues about, Blackbirds, these Blackbird figures, and so Mary has to go and figure out what the heck do the Blackbirds mean. What does in the shadow of Blackbirds mean? So she volunteers at a veterans hospital to try and learn more about what we know now as post-traumatic stress disorder. And she starts interviewing these veterans about, like, have you guys, like, heard or seen anything about Blackbirds? And there's one guy who goes, yeah, that's it's a hallucination, usually caused through severe, like, chemical severe reaction to chemicals. I'm not going to spoil the ending, but the ending reveals what exactly happened to Stephen. Let's just say Stephen, now this isn't the ending, I'm not spoiling the ending, but I am going to spoil what actually happened to Stephen. So Stephen didn't actually die. He was hit with a mine, and instead of dying, he became crippled. Well, we can't have a cripple coming back home overseas, because America, valor, you have to die in battle instead of being a gimp for the rest of your life. So they wheel his still alive body back over to America, where his brother and the guy who, a photographer named Aloysius Darning, who is Julius Ember's arch rival, who's trying to disprove Julius's work of spiritual photography and spiritualism, and everything that he does is a fraud, but secretly they're working together because they want money. That's what all this is. That's what spiritualism was. It was all a capitalist ploy to make money off of people's leaving the church but still wanting to believe in something bigger than themselves. Basically what they did is they had these old school medieval surgeon's masks with the long noses that look like beaks to make them look like blackbirds, and they basically drugged Stephen. And so there's a scene in the book where Mary Shelley goes to get her photo taken by Julius, and they overhear Stephen and Julius's mother and Julius's wife upstairs crying. That's why, because they find Stephen dead, even though he's been dead for like 2 or 3 days at that point. That's not the ending of the book. That's just like a big twist of the book. Yeah, not going to spoil the ending. I would highly recommend this book. The overall rating for the book, across, like, from the 1-star reviews to the 5-star reviews, the overall rating was like 3.8, 3.9. So it's not like the best book of all time or anything. It's a young adult novel. It's meant for, like, freshman, sophomore level high school reading. So, and that's at most. So it's actually 3rd grade to 10th grade. So it's actually like 6th, 7th grade level. I don't know why I said freshman, sophomore. It's like a 6th to 7th grade level reading book. The dialogue is kind of like, this is what, like, a teenager would think is like risque, even though it's not. So other than, like, the dialogue between characters, the scenery, the setting, everything that Kat Winters puts into this book is amazing. I would highly recommend it if you want a intriguing read. It's about 31 chapters. Each chapter will take you tops 5-10 minutes to read. So it's about like if you sat down, you could read this book in a day. It's like a 3-hour long read. So yeah. I'm gonna end the video here. I just wanted to talk about this book and finally get this off my chest. My Twitter, Instagram, Threads will be in the description, and I will talk to you guys later. And if this is the last video I release this year, then Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy New Year's, Happy Holidays. Stay safe. Don't fight anybody. Don't do anything that I would do. Don't do drugs. Don't accept alcohol. Don't. I'm really tired. I'm going to end the video now before I say something crappy. Okay, so plug the social medias. Yeah, okay. If this video is the last video I make this year, then see you guys in 2024. If not, see you guys later. Irregardless, I'll see you guys later. Yeah, that's about it. Bye.